All right, hi everyone, and welcome to Wild Apricot's Expert Webinar Series. We are thrilled to have today's expert webinar presenter, Eric Square from Data Habits. Today, Eric is going to tell us all about Google Analytics, which we're really excited for. But while I'm waiting for people to log on here, I just want to quickly introduce myself. My name's Laurie Smith. I'm the community manager here at Wild Apricot. And on chat, helping you with your questions and any technical issues is Terry Ibel, our digital coordinator. Also, a quick reminder that by attending today, you are actually eligible to earn one CAE credit. That stands for Certified Association Executive Program. So Terry's going to share that link with you if you're interested to learn more about what that is, and he'll use the chat box for that. And while you're checking out your chat box, just to remind you that we really encourage you to ask questions during the presentation. So just use your questions, or if you're having any issues, use your chat box. Or if you prefer Twitter, we're also using this hashtag at Wild Apricot Webinar Chat. Also, a lot of you ask if we'll be sharing this recording. We will be. We're going to send out a follow-up email tomorrow, most likely in the afternoon. And so any notes or links or anything mentioned in this presentation will be shared. So don't worry, you'll get everything. All right, so now I'd like to present our expert today. So Eric Square. Eric specializes in developing online and digital strategies for nonprofits. He's worked with Greenpeace, Amnesty International, as well as a bunch of political campaigns, and he offers workshops, consulting, and coaching in all things digital, but has recently been more focused on Google Analytics. And this is so he can help his clients make smarter decisions about their online work. You can visit Eric at datahabits.com and learn more about his workshops there. And we also like to share a fun fact about our presenters. And Eric has a really fun fact coming any day. Eric and his partner are about to have a baby. And in fact, we weren't even sure if Eric would be able to make today's webinar, but luckily the baby has not come yet. So congratulations, Eric, for what's about to happen. And thank you for attending today. Just gonna unmute you. There you are. Hi, Eric.
Hi. Hi, Laurie. Thanks for that. Great.
Welcome.
So I am going to share my screen. Let's see here. Let's see if I'm sharing the right one. No, I probably need to share that one.
There you go.
All right. Great. We're started. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for showing up. I see the numbers going up as we start the webinar. And we're going to run through a number of slides and show you how and why you want to use Google Analytics with your Wild Apricot website or with any website. And then we'll take questions at the end. I wouldn't worry about writing things down that you see on the screen. As Laurie mentioned, we're going to send around these slides after the session. So you'll definitely, you don't have to take notes from the slides. You'll have a copy of those by tomorrow. So let's just get started. Let's see, how do there we go. This is, I think, how a lot of people feel about Google Analytics. And by extension, I think their website. You sort of know that there's a lot going on there. It's this really powerful tool that you sort of should know more about or feel like you do if you're making decisions about your website. But you're really sort of confused. You're kind of overwhelmed by all the sort of jargony stuff. The numbers and the different control panels. You're not entirely sure where to start. You're a bit like this kid, you know something's going on, you see blinking lights, you're pretty sure something very cool can happen if you know how to use this tool, but you're sort of as frustrated as this kid. And I would say that, in some ways, your website is much the same. You can see that people are coming to the site because new members do sign up, or people tell you that they read your blog, but you don't know exactly what's going on, what's working and what's not with your website. So again, you're like this kid. You're looking at this process in front of you that's really kind of confusing. And so what I want to do in the next 55 minutes or less is take this tool that, we have a good sense of the possibilities about and really break it down and make it a lot simpler, kind of show you the shortcuts to using this tool in a really powerful way. So without further ado, our next slide, we asked people what they want from this session, and the overwhelming response here, I don't know if that's too small to read, but that left-hand, purple column, people wanted a basic understanding of Google Analytics and whether they want to begin using this tool. Is this thing going to be worth it, or is it going to be kind of confusing to use? Second most popular answer was that their Google Analytics data is confusing, hope to make more sense of how it can help them. And the third most popular response was how to set up Google Analytics on our Wild Apricot site. So good news is I'm going to cover all of those bases today, sort of give you a glimpse as to what is possible with Google Analytics, how it's going to help you do your job better, get your website, meeting the objectives of your organization. Hopefully give you a glimpse of, how clear the data can be in Google Analytics. I'm going to show you the most important report, the single thing to look at in Google Analytics, and then everything else flows from there. And I'll send you a link to how to set up your Google Analytics on your Wild Apricot website. I created a step-by-step screencast on exactly how to do that. That small number of people, those are the real keeners. It's great to see them. They answered that they use Google Analytics all the time, and they have some very specific questions. I feel like if you have really specific questions, send me an email. I'll give my email address at the end of this, and I hope to be able to help you. But we're just going to kind of cover some of the basics today of Google Analytics. We're looking at a follow-up session later either in December or in January, just to kind of follow through on the promises we made in this particular one, that we'd show you a lot of different techniques. It's going to be an intro. There will be follow-up sessions, so stay tuned for those. So let's move on here. I'm just going to check my chat to see if anyone has asked any questions. No. Great. So, why we would want to use Google Analytics, this is kind of it in a nutshell, is we can, one of the things that we maybe want our website to do is allow people to sign up. And we want to know, what are we doing? How is the website contributing to these signups? What are we doing to, convince new people to sign up? So if you've set up Google Analytics correctly, this is the kind of data that you can get. You can see that, people who are signing up, a certain percentage of them are responding to our emails. All that time you spend on Facebook is, leading to a certain number of signups. Twitter, the same thing. You can see the different sources of, say, new members to your website. Could also be, event tickets that you're trying to sell, or downloads of your annual report. Whatever you've designed your website to do, Google Analytics is very good at answering what is working and what is not. What are you doing to contribute to the success of your site, and what are you doing that's not really contributing to the success of your site? So this is one of those, key reports that you can expect out of Google Analytics. Really, there's no other source of this information. If you're doing online work, it's really hard in one place to get this source of information, and that's why, if you're already using Google Analytics, this is probably what you, originally intended to do. And if you're just trying to decide whether you want to use Google Analytics, this is the key piece of information. It is telling you, whatever you set your website up to do, in this case, grow your membership of your organization, or it might be online donations, or it might be email signups. Whatever it is that you've set up your website to do, Google Analytics is very good at telling you where those, say, new members come from. What are you doing to encourage new members? And what should you do more of in order to get more members? So in this next slide, great. Today's session, we're going to look at quickly what is Google Analytics. Make sure that you understand what it can and cannot do. Then we're going to look at, in a bit more detail, at basically the key technique of making sense of Google Analytics, taking it from confusing numbers to a really focused tool, and that is to set goals. I'll show you how to do that for a Wild Apricot website. And then we're just going to quickly mention the next technique that really makes Google Analytics useful, which is tracking your outreach. Then I'll finally end sharing a dashboard with you that you can easily install in your own Google Analytics account. And I'll show you sort of the key source of data in Google Analytics. The one that really helps you understand what's going on with your website, what's going on with your email and your social media, so that you can sort of do better at these things. The time and money you spend will see better results, basically, is what it comes down to. So that's a lot to cover in the next 49 minutes, I see, but let's start. Okay, so the first thing is that Google Analytics is a web-based tool that records anonymously visits to your website. Really simple. Let's break that down. A web-based tool means that it's just like Gmail or any web-based service. It's like Wild Apricot. It's web-based. You log in with a password and a login, and you get access to all this kind of data about who came to your website. It records, if you've ever looked inside Google Analytics, you'll notice that it records a ton of information, all kinds of things. How many visits you got on each day, where those visits came from, how many came from which city and which country, what browser they were using, what operating system, what screen resolution they had their monitor at, whether they were using Flash or not, whether they had been to your website before or were an entirely new visitor. It records an incredibly amount of detailed information. But the one thing it won't do is track personally identifiable information. It's all anonymous. You won't get any first names or email addresses or credit card numbers in Google Analytics. There's no identifying details. So it's tracking an incredible amount of information of visits to your website. So here's the thing. It will tell you why people are visiting your site in terms of like where they're coming from, what sent them to your site. But this sort of bleeds into the next second half of what Google Analytics is. And sorry, I just want to say one last thing about this slide. This is, again, I like this slide because this is a sort of a standard report in Google Analytics. You'll see in this case 31% of visitors, the blue portion, come from search engines. 21%, that green portion, comes from referral traffic. That's people following links to get to your website. That orange slice is people coming directly to your website. They've bookmarked your site, or they've typed in your URL, or they've come from a mobile application that just opens your website. Finally, 21% is campaigns. That's things that you've done yourself to drive traffic to your site. Maybe it's emails or online ads, or it's tweets that you've done. That's sort of campaigns, is that bucket that sort of you control. You're sending people back to your website. But what I love about this one pie chart is you can show this to people and say, if you want to get more traffic, it's one of these four options, right? Either you can do really well with search engines, you create great content and search engines send a ton of traffic to your website, or you can make a really popular website that people love linking to, and that'll send you more traffic. That's the green slice. You can become their favorite website, so they bookmark you and then they come directly to your site. Or you can run campaigns. You can tweet a lot. You can send out all kinds of emails. You can run ads. That takes time and money to send people to your site. But there's no kind of magic way beyond these four elements. Google Analytics really shows that clearly. Like if people are expecting, website traffic to just kind of show up, Google Analytics really shows you that, you kind of pick one of these methods, and it'll be sort of honest as to where this traffic comes from. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. There we go. Great. second half of what Google Analytics is. Google Analytics is some code you place on your website. That's a kind of a scary long code, but that's, an example of the bit of code that you place on every page of your website. I'm going to send you a link to how to do this if you have a Wild Apricot website, so don't worry if you haven't set it up already. There's step-by-step instructions that you can follow. But this is a unique code. You can see in red there. I don't know how easily it shows up on your screen, but in red there is a unique identifier. That's a unique tracking code that's unique to your website and unique to your Google Analytics account. And you place it on every page of your website. And when somebody comes to your website, Google Analytics knows where they've come from, where they go next, those kind of things. But it can only track places where you can put the code. So it's your website. If you can't put this tracking code on a page on the website, Google Analytics doesn't get any information. So you can't track somebody else's website unless they agree to put your code on your site. Or if you have a PDF, a document on your site that you want to check how many people are reading it. It's very difficult to do that because you can't put the code on every page. There's ways to sort of get a general idea of how many people are reading a PDF, but you can't track it if you can't put the code on the website. So there we have it. Google Analytics is a web-based tool that records an incredible amount of information about the visitors to your website, but it's all anonymous. And it's based on some tracking code that's put on every page of your website. When somebody loads that page in their browser, Google Analytics knows a lot about them, everything except personally identifiable details. So, a good chunk of the people on the webinar today don't have Google Analytics installed yet. That's fine. There's step-by-step instructions. I created a 5-minute video to walk you through exactly how to do it. That's at datahabits.com/wildapricot. These links will be sent around, as I say, later today. I think they could also be chatted in the window if people are interested in just seeing that page. It's really, really simple. You get that tracking code, that unique tracking code for your website from Google Analytics. You either start a new account or you already have an account, and you go get that code, those several lines of weird-looking code, and then you log into your Wild Apricot website. You log into the administration. You go to Settings and Site, and there's a value there for global JavaScript. You paste it in there and you save it. Don't worry if that's a bit confusing. That'll put the code on every page of your Wild Apricot site, and you'll be tracking data. I walk you through that step-by-step in that video. I talk through it, so I'm going to leave it at that in terms of how to set up Google Analytics. Go to datahabits.com/wildapricot. And once you do that, you're going to get a ton of, as I say, you're going to get a lot of data. How many people came to your site, what browsers they were using. You'll see what pages they checked out, what's more popular, what's less popular on your site. And that's the start of using Google Analytics. But it's not going to give you a lot of really strong insights. You have to do one more thing before Google Analytics becomes really powerful. And that's the next thing, which is this first technique. You need to set up goals in Google Analytics. And what I mean by goals is, think of some definition of success for your website. For a lot of you, it would be for somebody to come by and sign up to be a member on your website. Other people, it might be to sign up to get your email messages that you send out. Other people, it might be to download a PDF that, you've got your yearly annual report and you want people to read it. That would be sort of a successful visit for your site. There's a lot of different definitions of success for your site. What you need to do is set up Google Analytics so when somebody does that, they sign up for your email, or they donate, or they buy something off your website. When somebody does that, Google Analytics knows about that happening. And it's a process of setting these goals. If you don't set these goals, Google Analytics just goes on its merry way. It doesn't really know who is doing what you want it to do and who is just coming to visit your site. As soon as you set up goals, Google Analytics is very, very focused on, focused in on those people who sign up as new members. And what it does is it means that Google Analytics, you now have really detailed information on where your new members are coming from. Just as an aside, this is sort of marketing speak, but in marketing, a successful completion of a goal is called a conversion. If somebody comes to your website and joins up, that's a conversion. So you might hear that from time to time. It's definitely used in the Google Analytics sort of jargon. Okay, so I'm just going to ask a question here, and please feel free to chat it, your answer to it. I've mentioned a couple of different possible goals from your website. Can people out there just type into the chat window, name some goals for their website that they would be interested in recording? Some, definition of success for your website.
So I'm seeing lots of great answers coming in here. Email signups, donations, becoming a member, registering for events. I know some other people were mentioning their goal is to try to get their members to promote their members' websites, and that they weren't doing that so well. Participating in a forum is a goal.
Okay.
Renewing membership. I would say that's probably a big one for a lot of people. Wow, they're pouring in. Thanks, everyone. Eric, is there any, I don't know if you can see them, is there any ones that stand out to you as a good example?
Let's see. Yeah.
See how many?
I can't see them. Let's see. Oh, sorry.
Oh, it's different from the chat panel. It's the questions panel, which we've got lots of questions coming up, by the way, which we're going to ask everyone. So I'm seeing renewal and purchases are a big one, like actually getting the money, like seeing that transaction page. And someone is asking here, can you have different goals for different pages? She's a university, so what are goals for new students and alumni are quite different. So I'm sure you can set up various goals, Sarah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks, Sarah. That's a great question. You can set up a lot of different goals. You can have dozens of different goals for any given website. There's a lot of different things that you can track. You're not really limited to only having one goal. Everything people have mentioned so far, email signups or event registrations or, donations, signing petition. I see new members. All of these things could all be tracked to the same Google Analytics account on the same website. So I didn't mean to give the impression that it's, there's just one thing that you're tracking. So that's great. That's a good question. Are there any other quick questions before we move on and we get into the specifics of how to do this for a Wild Apricot site?
Yeah, I think that original slide you showed a while back where the different sources of traffic come from, maybe in the resource, people were kind of confused about what campaign traffic is versus referral traffic, and wondering what campaigns actually track. And then when you talked about the URL, like the hidden code, people were kind of confused about what that is called, like a cookie. People are calling it a pixel, and how that works.
Good, great. Thanks. That's good for clarification. So if this is the thing that people were asking about, the campaigns are anything that you, this will hopefully make sense in a little bit, but any link that you send out that you add a little bit of information to, will show up under campaigns. That's what I'm going to say for now. So if you tweet and send people back to your website, or you post to Facebook and send people back to your website, or you run an online ad and send people back to your website, you add a little bit of information to each of those links that you send out. I'll show you. It's quite straightforward to do. A little bit of information, and then Google Analytics knows where that traffic comes from. So that's a really good question. That campaigns bit is a little bit tricky until I show you what's involved there. The next question is this tracking code. The technical name for this is a Google Analytics tracking code, GATC. Google Analytics, we'll see in a moment, also sometimes refers to as the tracking ID, which is a bit confusing. The tracking ID is that UA dash something something, UA, that long number that's in red. I'm hoping this will be a little clearer in a moment. That's a really good question though. This tracking code, official name is Google Analytics tracking code. Google also confusingly sometimes refers to it as a tracking ID. We'll see that in a moment, but really great questions. So,
thanks,
anything
Eric.
else before we?
No, let's keep going. People are definitely eager to see the demo part of it, and then everyone, we're writing down your questions, so we'll make sure to ask them at the end too. Okay.
Great. So I've started I started a sort of a demo Wild Apricot site, and I had, what I wanted to track was the key thing that I'm interested in is a membership. Who is signing up? And to do that, there's 3 different levels. There's the free membership, there's the paid membership. I'm going to show you one of the easiest goals to track, and that is when there's what I call a finish line. When somebody, they fill in their information and they click submit, and you get this confirmation page that says thank you for signing up. That unique page that is what I'm calling a finish line. That's the easiest kind of tracking to do. In this case, I'm going to show you my screen in a moment, but I start at this page. I go to this Wild Apricot site that I've got. I start this sign-up process, and I fill in the form, and I end up at this page, which I can only get to when I'm signing up. So the next time I come to this page, it looks different, and the URL is slightly different. So what I know is that when somebody is signing up, once they've done it and they've confirmed their information, they will see this page. They'll visit this page. And so I know that that's the end of the process. And so I'm kind of, I'm cheating a bit in that, I'm saying that this is the finish line. When somebody is signing up, I know that they will see this page. They won't see it. It won't be the exact same page the next time they go to this. It'll have a membership ID. So I know that this is the first time somebody signed up. So I'm going to take that and tell Google Analytics, hey, when somebody sees this, thank you for signing up page, or this, your application is submitted page, record that as a goal. And that's all you really need to do. I'll show you exactly how that works in a second. Are there any super quick questions before? I'm hoping this makes sense. Before I show you.
Sorry, not right now. We're just going through them, but
right.
So please proceed. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Oops. All right. So I almost canceled the webinar. That's a good thing that I didn't. What I am going to do is, so this was this sort of test site that I created. I click on Join Data Habits, and I'm asked, I'm going to join the free membership level. You're all following me here. And I click on Next, and I stay on the same page. It asks me for my email. I'm going to put it in test.com, put in the code. This is just the usual process that somebody comes and goes through when they're signing up for a new membership. I click on Next. I think it asks me for more information there. I put in, oops, put in more information, and I keep clicking through this membership process. This final one here is review and confirm, right? This is still on that same page, the Join Data Habits page. The page hasn't changed yet. When I confirm my application, I've pretty much, signed up. It's not 100% there, but, when I see the next page, that means I'll be one of those people who's signed up. So I click on Confirm Application, and it takes a moment. But what we see is that the URL changes, and I get a confirmation. Let's see if I can make that a little bit bigger. No, it doesn't. My page is hanging. Let me show you what the URL I see is. It comes up. This is the one that comes up. I eventually end up seeing this datahabits.com, datahabits.wildapricot.org, and then this /sys/profile. That's what this, page contains. I copy that URL. Oops. I copy that URL, and then I'll show you where I go with it. There we go. So while I was looking at my slides, here's my page. I've finished the process. I copy the URL from up there and say, and really what I'm saying to Google Analytics is anytime somebody sees this page, I know they've signed up. They've reached the finish line of this process. Yeah? So I go into my Google Analytics, and this is my account. Let me make it a tiny bit bigger. There's an admin button at the top here. I click on admin. I make sure that I'm in the Wild Apricot account that I want. I go to the right-hand side. I see goals. I click on goals, and then I want to start a new goal. And as you can see, there's a whole bunch of goals that I can add. There's more than one. I've already set one up. I've done this before. But I click on new goal, and I give it a name. I'm going to say free membership sign up, a goal name that I can recognize. I'm going to call it a destination goal. What that means is that they've reached the destination, that finish line I was talking about. They've seen a certain page. And as I say, it's ideal when it's sort of a thank you for signing up or thank you for buying something page. In this case, it's that final confirmation page. So I'm going to say the goal I'm doing is a destination goal. These other types of goals are also easy to set up. Duration means somebody spends a certain amount of time on your website, 5 minutes or more, as you can see from the example. Or they look at a certain number of pages in a given visit. So if they look at 3 pages or more, that would be a goal. This final one, event, a little too advanced to get into right now, but suffice to say that it's almost any interaction they have with your website, whether they scroll to the bottom of the page or they download a PDF or they do whatever, they click on a particular link. That would be an event goal. It can get quite involved to set those up, but they're very, very powerful. So in this case, we have this finish line. Somebody's reached the thank you for signing up page. It's a destination goal, so I choose that. I continue. And now, look what we've got here. This is the destination equals to, and so I paste that in there. Notice that what I didn't do was paste the entire, here, this was the entire, that was the entire URL, right? That was that really long one. What I pasted was after the .org, right? I took out the name of the site and just did the page path. And in fact, if you look at the instructions there, it says use thankyou.html instead of example.com/thankyouhtml. You're just using the last bit of the address there. I hope that makes sense for people. You don't need to specify a value. In fact, it helps at this point to not do that if you're not, selling something in particular. A funnel, it's probably best not to set that up right now. You can verify this goal if you want. Only if you have a lot of data, it'll give you a good sense of how many people have done this goal in the past week. I'd have a 10% conversion rate. So 10% of the people who come to the website end up signing up. It's interesting because it's just me coming to the website to test it. But anyway, there you go. And then I'm going to save it. So really what we're doing here is telling Google Analytics, if somebody sees this /sys/profile page, I know they've reached the end of the new member sign up process. I'm going to tell Google Analytics to watch for that. Now let's save that, and we've got a new goal. So free membership sign up. I guess it would be that one. I've set it up a couple of times, right? If I look at new paid membership for my account, that's when somebody reaches an invoice page. So what I've done there, as you can see, the goal details, they see this page, Sys Profile Finances, and I know that that's sort of the page that they see when they get their first invoice. The next time they get an invoice, it'll have a membership number after it. So I'm pretty happy with how that works. So I hope that makes sense to people. Maybe now is the time to take any quick questions about that whole setup process, this idea of you identify a finish line and then you put it in this destination goal finish line in Google Analytics. Any quick questions there?
Hi, yeah, I'm just trying to go through a few. Okay. Someone here has asked, in order to see, so she's trying to see how many of her members go to her directory. So this person, you would set up your URL to be that directory in your goal. And she's asking, would she have to search each one of them, copy the URL, and set up a goal for each? So I guess there's different pages. I guess what she's asking, yeah, for basically any separate page, you want a separate goal, right?
Yeah, there's the thing. There would be maybe other ways. Maybe you could identify a particular page on the directory, or you could say anytime somebody reaches, the directory itself, that could be considered as a successful visit. If you see from this screenshot in the middle there, it says destination equals to. I can also specify whether it starts with or ends with. Oops, sorry, I keep almost shutting myself out of this webinar. When I'm setting up a goal, there's the free membership sign up here, the goal teach sale. See that equals to? I can also say begins with. So if I had a directory and all of the pages in the directory started with the word directory, I could just do begins with. And then I wouldn't have to set up one for every directory page. I could just say, it's that. Regular expression, it's a little bit detailed to get into here, but that's a really powerful way of saying, these few pages, but not those pages, or pages that, contain ABC, but not 1, 2, 3. So regular expressions are something that, a programmer can help you with, but there's a lot of what it sounds like what you want to do is if your directory pages are all in a certain, they all begin a certain way, it might be the word directory in them, you'd use this begins with for the destination. I hope that answered your question.
I think so. And then someone here has asked, how do you know what pages people are seeing in the process, like to follow through how they got to the goal, if
Mm-hmm.
they're following the right path.
Mm-hmm. So there's a couple of different ways. One is to create this funnel idea. I didn't want to confuse people too much, but this idea of, you can see here when you're setting up the goal, you can set up a funnel, which is telling them that here's the first page, here's the second page, here's the third page. That is a useful way to do things. So you can see how many people reach the first page of the sign-up process. They get to the second page of the sign-up process, but they don't actually sign up. That's a funnel, and you can define that when you're setting up the goal. There's also ways to Google Analytics sort of captures that information anyway. Once you've set up a goal, you automatically get that information about what pages they took to get there. So that's sort of one of the benefits of setting up a goal. You sort of automatically get that idea of a funnel. That is a goal path record. If you remind me, we can look at that at the end of this webinar. But yeah, if people are interested in that, path people took, which is a really common question, Google Analytics will get that for you automatically. You can also specifically set up a goal, which will give you even more detailed information.
Okay, there's more questions coming in, but I think we should keep going, and then we'll ask a few more towards the end.
Great. Okay, so super quick recap. What we're doing here is saying there's a finish line. Somebody starts to join Data Habits or your website. They go through this, they enter all their information, and they come to this page. It ends with /sys/profile, which means system page. It's their profile. They're only going to see this once. The next time they see this page, it's going to have a membership ID number on it. So we know that this is a new sign up. So we're good to go on this. This is great. We take that information, we paste it in there. You can see we just paste it as a destination goal in Google Analytics. And then you're getting that funnel information. You're getting that sense. You're getting this next slide here, which is over time from the left-hand side. This is from my actual website, kind of piddly traffic, but I'm working on it. 553 visits. Almost 5% of the people who come to my website end up signing up. I have one conversion on my website. There's only one thing I care about. That is people signing up for free Google Analytics tutorials. So they come to my website. You can sign up for these free tutorials, and you get tips and tricks, kind of what we're covering here on how to use Google Analytics in general. But this middle graph, where are my signups coming from? I can see that they're basically all coming from referrals and some direct. So there's a few websites that are sending me traffic. There's John Hayden's site. We do a bit of work together. I guess he gave last month's webinar. It's kind of interesting. So he's sending people to my site. They end up signing up. I get this information because I've set up a goal. If I hadn't set up a goal, I wouldn't know where my members are coming from, where my new signups are coming from. This thing on the right-hand side, this goal conversion rate by medium, this is kind of useful, because what this is saying is, of the people who come by following links, 9% of them end up signing up. That's great. So people who link to me, of every 10 people who follow those links, almost, basically one of them will sign up. It's almost 10%. Similarly, of people who come to me from the emails I send out, 7.5% of them. The idea of none means they come directly to the site. There's no particular thing that we can identify that brought them to the site. That's a medium of none. The final one that, as you can see, doesn't convert very well, it's got 0.5% conversion, is search. It's called organic, which means organic search. It means that people are just showing up on the website because they typed it into Google, something into Google, and only 0.5% of those people are convinced to sign up for my tutorials. Now here's the thing. I have this dashboard, and I can very easily share it with you if you simply go to that link, bit.ly is a link shortener. If you click on that and you are logged into Google Analytics, it will ask you to add that. It'll ask you to which account you want to add that dashboard, and then that dashboard will be in your account. It won't have my details in it. It'll have your particular Google Analytics data in it. If you haven't set up goals, it might be empty at this point, but this is the dashboard I was telling you about. Once you set up goals and you click on this link, you will get basically this information for your Google Analytics. We can go through how to do that maybe at the end, but suffice to say that link, which will probably be in an email tomorrow or could be chatted out now, will allow you to add the dashboard to your Google Analytics account. All right, so we're at the last 15 minutes. I'm going to speed up things a little bit. What have I done here? There we go. So people asked before, this is the second technique. So if the first one is setting up goals, making sure Google Analytics knows when you have a really important visit, right? Somebody buys something or signs up. This is the second technique, and this answers that person's question around, what's that campaigns thing that you were talking about? This is what I'm talking about. It's a bit of information you add to every link that you send out, and it tells Google Analytics who is clicking. Not personally identifiable, but what link they clicked on. Google Analytics by itself is kind of stupid. It sees traffic coming from Facebook, but it doesn't really know, is that something that you posted, or is it something that someone else posted, or was it an ad you ran on Facebook? What was the source of that Facebook traffic? When you add a little bit of information to the links that you send out, it's actually quite straightforward to do, and we're going to do that in a follow-up session. I also have a bit of a tutorial that I can add to that Wild Apricot site, that datahabits.com/wildapricot, showing you the basics of how to do this. It's just some information that you add. Takes about a minute when you're making a link. Takes about a minute to add this information, and then you get this report, which is, this is not from my website. This is from a client's website. These are their goal completions for a given 3 months. So, the source is their subscribers, and the medium, the way that they were reached, was email. That second value is Google ads, Google cost per click. That third is Facebook social interactions, Twitter social interactions. So you can see at the end of it, once you add a bit of information to every link that you send out, whether you send it out by email, whether you're posting an ad, whether you are, doing social media posts, you add a little bit of information every time you tweet or every time you send out an email, and then you get back very detailed information about, what those people did. If we didn't do this campaign tagging, you would know that people are coming from Facebook, but you wouldn't necessarily know whether it was a post that you made or whether it was an ad or what it was. This way you get even more information. And the thing is, this is just the top level report. Once you're getting this information, you can dig down and say, we sent an email every 2 days. These are the, 1 or 2 emails that really did well. You can drill down right to the idea of which message did the best, which Facebook post did the best, which Google ad did the best. In fact, Google Analytics was created just to track Google ads, but it's, useful in all kinds of other things. But its main purpose for Google, and the reason they give it away for free, is because it's very good at tracking Google ads. If you're running Google ads, it will tell you which ones are working and which ones are not. If you're, trying to get people to come to your website to donate, it will say, this ad brought in $1,000, this ad brought in nothing. And so that's kind of the whole reason why Google Analytics exists. So I just, let me see, one last slide before we take questions. Let's see. You know what? No, I'm going to take, I will do this. One last link to share with you. So Google Analytics Um, my opinion is that there's one important report in Google Analytics. It's the most important thing that you can look at, and it's the whole reason you set up Google Analytics. It's this. Conversions, in the case of data habits, that's signups by where they came from, right? So I've showed it a couple of times, but I also did a blog post on this. If you want to check that out, it's at that link. But let me quickly show you. I've been talking all about how important it is to set up goals. I'll show you now what happens when you do that. So if this is my, this is the wrong view. This is my Wild Apricot site. This is my actual website. And you see, I've got one goal there. That is when somebody comes to my site and they sign up for Google Analytics tutorials, I know about it because they reach a thank you page. So what I want to do is go and figure out, not for just one day, but say since August, start of August, I'm looking, so you can see here now, I've changed the date. I'm looking at August 1st until today. I'm going to make it slightly smaller. As you can see, I'm in the reporting tab here. And I'm going to go, there's all these different categories on the left-hand side. I'm going to go to the one at the bottom, conversions. I'm going to go to goals. I'm going to click on overview. And this is the most important piece of information, single piece of information in all of Google Analytics. So I'm looking, I've got my date range here set in the top, just with the calendar. I'm in the reporting tab. I've gone to conversions, overview. And that shows me how many people signed up. 37, a trickle of people signing up. But I click on the source and the medium. Oh, and there you see my goal completion location. When people reach the thank you page, I know they've signed up. They'll only see that if they sign up. So when they reach it, I know they've signed up. I click on source and medium, and there I get a sense of where my signups come from. I can also, someone asked about, how do I know that they're taking the right path through the site? Here's a reverse goal path. If I'm on overview, I can also go to reverse goal path, to links below that, and I can see the previous step, so where people have come from. And I can sort of get a glimpse of what are the ways that people move through my site before they sign up. So I don't want to overfill your brains, but that's basically that funnel I was talking about and the single most important report in Google Analytics. Once you've set up conversion tracking, you've set up goals, you can get this report. That dashboard I sent you will start to have data in it. The question a lot of people ask at this point is, will it track things backwards? Unfortunately, if you don't have the tracking code on your site or you haven't set up a goal, it can't track sort of retroactively, unfortunately. So let me see really quickly. We've got 7 minutes left, although I can take questions later if people want. What we covered today is, what is Google Analytics? We know that it's a bit of tracking code, this Google Analytics tracking code or tracking ID that we put on every single page of our website records an incredible amount of information about the visitors. We also know that the most important thing to do in Google Analytics is to set goals. Otherwise, Google Analytics doesn't make any distinction between people who come to your website and do nothing and people who come to your website and sign up. You really want to focus in on the people who do, they convert on your website, they sign up, they donate, they send a petition, they download a report. You need to tell Google Analytics to watch for that behavior. One of the easiest ways to do that is when you have a confirmation page. There are other ways to do it, but the one that we covered today was when they reach a thank you for signing up page. Very easy to do. The third thing is something we just briefly touched on, and we want to look at more detail on exactly how to do that in the future, which is adding a bit of information to each link that you send out, be it an email or an ad or a tweet, and so that you can track your outreach and understand what effect you're having on the traffic to your site. What did you do to bring donors to your site, to bring new members to your site? So you can get better at that. You say, well, geez, we spent hours and hours on Twitter and it only brought in one person. We spent $50 on ads and it brought in 6 people. Clearly, we should do ads, or the other way around. And finally, we looked at, what are you doing? What are you doing to bring in these conversions, signups, etc.? Bear with me. There's one more slide. Again, resources specific to Wild Apricot websites are there. There was also a chat sent out. There's some stuff on the Wild Apricot site. There's 2 things at that Wild Apricot thing. There's step-by-step instructions on how to set up Google Analytics if you're new to it. There's also a sign up for free tutorials on how to make sense of Google Analytics. And what I'll do in the next hour or so is put on there I'll put on there a tutorial on this, adding some information to each link you send out. I've got a YouTube video on that, and I can just add that to that page. Won't give you the whole story, but it'll show you just quickly how easy that is to do. That's covered a little bit more in the tutorials, but there you go. So that is a lot of talking, and I've got 3.5 minutes left. Let's take questions.
Right. Well, I'm glad you addressed how you add a tracker, and I would encourage people to check out that video that Eric posted, because someone was asking, how do you know if the outreach or the conversions came from you? And that's how you would do it. You would track your outreach, and then it would show in Google. So here, a couple quick questions. Someone was asking, so in the goal conversion, it shows that percentage, and they're wondering, does that relate to all site visits, or what does the percentage actually mean? Is it just for the goal, or how does that work?
Yeah, so really quick answer is it's all site visits. How many people do your goal? You can drill down and say the different conversion rates for different goals. But to answer your question really quickly, that's all traffic. In my case, 4.8% of those people are converting. I only have one goal, so I know it's that goal. Different goals would have different conversion rates. And there's lots of different ways to slice and dice your data. So that conversion rate, there could be a lot of different ways to do that, but that's a really good question. It's all visits. Okay. Everyone who came to the site in the time period, yeah. And
I just want to add that I think it's telling that Eric only has one goal set up for his website, which I think is a good best practice, is maybe try what is the one key goal you want. So someone here has asked, what is a good goal conversion rate?
Yeah. So weirdly, this 5% I'm actually quite happy about. That question is basically the same as how long is a piece of string. Because one thing you quickly learn with Google Analytics, it's not about your conversion rate on any given time period. It's really like, is your conversion rate going up or down? And is it giving you the return you want for how much effort you're putting into it? So I know I'm being really vague there, but there's no such thing as like an absolute number I can give you. If I was selling $1,000 books on my website and I had a 5% conversion rate, I'd be really happy with that. If I was giving away free materials and I didn't get a 5% conversion rate, I'd be unhappy with that. So it kind of depends on how complex how much of an ask the conversion rate is on a lot of different factors. But I'm going to say 2 answers. I'm going to give you 2 quick answers. A good conversion rate is one that is better than it was last month. That's a great conversion rate. So that's all I can really tell you. The second thing is, after all of that, on a website, e-commerce websites, people are looking at like 2 to 3%, and they're kind of happy with that. 2 to 4% is great. If you're selling something and 4% of the people who come to your website end up buying, you know, people are ecstatic about that, to be honest. You know, there will be higher, there will be much lower that people are also happy with, but as a general rule of thumb, that kind of 2 to 4%, people are usually pretty satisfied with that.
Right. Okay. Well, so thank you, Eric, for all that. I just want to respect everyone's time. It's 4 o'clock now. There's actually a ton of very interesting and precise questions here. So some of you, for sure, I'm going to say get in touch with Eric if you have some really specific stuff, and maybe he can help you out. And then some of you have asked, you know, where's that landing page, that thank you landing page, and we actually realized in setting up this webinar that Wild Apricot itself is not the easiest or optimized for tracking all this with Google Analytics, but what Eric showed you today is sort of the best we can do with that profile system. That's sort of the equivalent to your thank you landing page. So again, watch that demo that Eric's created. We also have a help source on our own website, and we'll share all these links with you in an email. I'm just going to change presenter back to me over here. So again, just making sure this is on the right screen. So we're gonna, oh, screen's not coming up yet. Can you see my screen? There we go. So just thank you everyone for joining. We're gonna share everything with you and wanna let you know that this webinar, as well as future stuff we have, is gonna focus a lot more on how to use Wild Apricot and these features. So we put together this mini course on how you can convert event guests into paying members. And this is like a new feature we have in Wild Apricot where you can record your event guests into your database. So we've put together this kind of step-by-step plan. And we'll definitely follow up with more details on things you've learned today. And as Eric mentioned, we're going to do a second Google Analytics webinar, probably in the new year, maybe right before Christmas. And that's because Eric's having a baby, if you might recall. And if you're new to Wild Apricot, we do have demos that will show you kind of how our entire system works. So Milan, he's our technology consultant, and he's going to show you our system on Friday. If you're interested, there's further demos throughout the week. We typically have 3 a week, and then he follows up with a phone call and kind of walks you through your particular situation because we know it's complicated. So if you're interested in our stuff, definitely attend this. And Eric, I just want to thank you again for joining us today, and thank you everyone for your very great questions, and for people participating on Twitter, thank you there. And thanks for attending. This is great. Thanks, Eric.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Bye, everyone.